As usual, the Goncalves family has put out a statement regarding their newest thoughts on what's going on in the Idaho student murder case, which they're allowed to do. Let's go ahead and run through their statement and see what their thoughts have been on it this time. Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions. Disclaimer. Everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only, and just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. Okay, so we're going to read this statement. This was posted on Twitter by Brian Inton, and this is apparently the family statement regarding the hearing. And I haven't read every little word, I have skimmed through it, but it does look like they're actually sort of attacking both sides for the ridiculousness of this case, which is honestly what they should have been doing this entire time. Now, I've made a lot of comments about how they seem to be sort of ignoring a lot of things. And the family is also very much responsible for a lot of false narratives and false information and crazy rumors that have been going around the internet when it comes to not only stuff about Bryan, but also the way that they've answered questions when it comes to their daughter or when it comes to Maddie or whenever it just comes to King Roadhouse and the people that went in and out of that place in general. So while I do agree with the majority that they have every right to come out here and say things, they're not helping anything. They're not helping anything at all. Just like the gag order isn't helping anything, them coming out here and constantly posting online while also complaining about how this man apparently stalked their daughter online. Like, let me sidestep for a second, okay? Because as I was like scrolling through the Facebook page, right? Like, I understand that they want support and they should get support. This is a horrible situation, okay? I don't agree with a lot of things that they are doing. That's just my personal opinion. We are all entitled to those. But I don't agree with a lot of stuff that they're doing on their page in general when it comes to like the rest of their family. Like, they're sitting here basically trying to claim, while the state is telling us this isn't true, but they've been trying to claim, especially Steve, that Bryan Kohberger used social media and all kinds of like data based ways to track and follow Kaylee because he was jealous of her and Maddie. And like he has his whole like theory, right? But then they go and they post their grandkids and all their personal information and all their children's information and all their prom dates and all their graduation stuff on this Goncalves family page that has thousands and thousands and thousands of freaking people on it. And they don't know if everybody on there is actually there to support them or to gawk at their beautiful freaking daughters. I don't understand why they're just so willing to be out there sharing all of their very private information and family information online like that, but then complaining about the way that they think this all happened in the first place. It's very not normal for how we're hearing things. It just seems very hypocritical, I guess is the word. Contradictorial even. They need to make sure that what they are doing here is not being completely tunnel visioned. Because the ending of this, if Bryan really isn't it, is going to be tragic, even more tragic than it needs to be. They are so dead set on Bryan being the guy that they are blatantly overlooking true facts that are being said to them. And just because what's being told to us by the defense when it comes to Bryan's alibi doesn't match up with the PCA, I mean, isn't that sort of like the point? Isn't that sort of like the point? And that's what the Goncalveses are trying to claim about his alibi, that it doesn't match up to the PCA, so it's not true. Okay, well, that's the point. If Bryan's not the guy, why would his motions, his actions, his movements line up with something that they're claiming is related to this case if he's claiming to be innocent? The fact it doesn't line up is kind of the point. The right person has to actually be the one getting punished here, not just any person, the right person, or else you're letting the person who actually did this horrible thing get away with it to do it again, and this time with bolster. Let's not, okay? So let's go ahead and start this little statement and see what they have to say. But they start off yelling, so we just gonna start off yelling, okay? Discovery, discovery, discovery. You have what we want. No, I don't. Yes, you do. No, I don't. Let's have a new hearing. Hit repeat. Well, they actually nailed it really like on the head with that one, because that's been exactly what this entire case has been. But we know the facts of that are this. There are things that the defense knows should exist. That's why they are very specifically asking for these things. The state is very, very adamant at the fact that there is evidence that they still do not have in their possession, which I go back to, then what did you present to a grand jury? What did you use in these probable cause affidavits if none of the evidence that's needed for court is actually in the prosecuting agency's possession? That doesn't make any freaking sense to me. And we are going to discuss the federal grand jury versus the state grand jury because this was said in the last hearing.
And when we do that, for defense's fourth motion to compel, Item 1, Subpart A, discusses federal grand jury materials. Those are exempt from disclosure by federal law, as well as Idaho Code 74-104, subsection 2.
We're going to talk about it. We're going to learn the differences. We're going to figure out as much as we can and try to see as much as we can from what we know, because we don't know everything. We only know what we are allowed to see. We're going to try to figure out when this happened, what could have possibly been presented if this is where we're at now. Because if the case is that there was a federal grand jury that said no and then it had to go to Idaho, then why isn't that being the reasoning why they're trying to get the state of Idaho grand jury dismissed? We're going to talk about all of that this weekend. Hopefully a video that comes out tomorrow. After this one, we have to talk about the new documents that dropped yesterday. Okay, let's get back to the statement. This banter has been going on for 17 months. Then once you get a hearing, you have a hearing about the decision that was made at that hearing before the last hearing, and there needs to be another hearing. Damn if they're not accurate as hell right now. This case is turning into a hamster wheel of motions, hearings, and delayed decisions. Not every motion needs a hearing. Agreed. All the wasted taxpayer dollars, all the wasted billable hours, it's all so unnecessary. How many freaking videos have I done now, guys? Just think in your heads silently for like 2.7 seconds. How many videos have I said, well, this was a waste of taxpayer dollars. This was a waste of time. This was unnecessary. This shouldn't even happen. This was not needed. A hell of a lot lately. Not every decision needs to take a month to decide. Agreed. Can we all just agree that this case needs to move forward and the judge needs to start setting hard deadlines in this case? Yeah. The simple fact that they felt the need to go to a grand jury and then, oh, now we don't have the preliminary where both sides can actually have their sides heard, and now we're going to just let them take forever getting their evidence? No. The second that the judge knew that the state didn't have the autopsies in their possession at some point, that the draft is just a cast, that the IgG wasn't in their possession. Once Judge realized, and this was realized like a year ago, guys, okay, well over a year ago at this point, because I think we're actually in the month of the grand jury indictment last year. I'm pretty positive that the grand jury happened in May of 2023. So once this case was with the judge that it's with now, once he realized that all of the information used to arrest Bryan Kohberger all the freaking way at his mama's house in Pennsylvania was not in the possession of the state, he should have done something. He is trying to play like nicey nice and not upset anyone because he doesn't want things to get personal. Well, maybe things need to start getting personal so some fires under some asses start getting lit. This is absolutely stupid. And I know that I'm seeing comments too about how, oh, this is a quadruple murder homicide case. This is normal for it to take this long. Why is it normal? And this is something that I've said forever because people always want to argue that. Why is that the norm? For them to be able to waste time and dilly around and not do their jobs and go months and months and months without doing things that they're supposed to do and getting evidence gathered and doing work. Why is that the norm for them to not do their jobs in a timely manner? And why have we as a society just like accepted that? Why? Why do we even have this whole like right to a speedy trial thing if we're going to sit here and say, oh, taking a decade to put somebody on death row, that's normal? For what? Change it. Unnecessary. Oh, and by the way, why do they keep kicking the alibi issue down the road? Well, let's have another hearing to discuss whether it is a full or a half alibi. Yeah, they're going to have another hearing about that. We also heard that in this last hearing being discussed. Such notice by the defendant shall state the specific place or places at which the defendant claims to have been at the time of the alleged offense and the names and addresses of the witnesses upon whom he intends to rely to establish such alibi. Title 19, Chapter 5, Idaho Code. Not rocket science. So what do you do if the alibi isn't sufficient? I mean, that's a good question. I understand their frustrations with that. But what do you do if you're accused of doing something and you are your alibi because you were alone that night? A lot of people are alone. A lot of people are alone at night. A lot of people do not have other people to vouch for them 24/7. Still a good question. Upon the failure of either party to comply with the requirements of this section, the court may exclude the testimony of any undisclosed witness offered by such party as to the defendant's absence from or presence at the scene of the alleged offense, Title 19, Chapter 5, Idaho Code. I mean, but we've already established that that's already the plan here. They have already told the judge that they don't want Bryan and his side to be able to just pop up a witness that can put him somewhere last minute, because that's not right. And that's not how it should be. And they're right. You can't. Just like you can't be upset about the state not handing everything over to the defense and all the crap that they're doing. We also have to be just as logical whenever it comes to this. If Bryan had a person, a physical, actual person, or an actual physical way to prove his alibi, then it could have been and should have been already established and admissible by now. And it's not. They're going based off of the state's evidence, and they want to bring in their own expert witnesses in order to use the state's evidence against them to prove that Bryan is innocent, is what their plan is. It's been their plan basically from day one. If there was a so-say witness, then that person should have come forward by now, and they didn't. And they're not allowed to just dramatically throw the trial doors open and run down the hallway and say, he was with me. That's just not how this is going to work. The next hurdle now will be the change of venue. Are the surveys to be relied upon? I mean, I hope so, because they seem pretty freaking legit and they're a very common practice. And honestly, their attorney probably should have told them that. He should know, right? Will the state finally, at some point in this case, do a proper cross examination of defense witnesses? What does that mean? Because there's no physical witnesses for the defense. It's literally all expert witnesses. So yeah, the state, whenever we get to trial, or even at some point, I don't know. See, that's a whole nother thing. These motions just seem like a whole bunch of little bitty trials. And then we get to the big trial where we hear everything all over again, but not as vague. So these things really do get ran through twice, it seems. Because literally, we're getting people coming in telling us about IgG. We're getting people coming in telling us about all these false statements and narratives that are being pushed by the media. We're getting little tidbits of truth pretty much in every single one of them. What's going to be insane is if we come to trial and everything that has been talked about in these motions is not really what we've all been thinking. It'll be wild. But yes, the surveys are to be relied upon. They're very common practice. But when it comes to physical witnesses, it's just like they were just talking about previous to this. They don't have physical witnesses to claim Bryan was with us like a human that night. They don't. So they could only be talking about their expert witnesses. And yeah, of course they will. They're going to have to. That's kind of how it works, right? Will the state present any witnesses? Okay, well, shouldn't they be presenting Dylan and Bethany? Or are we really going to sit here and be made to believe that they're not going to be testifying at trial? Because we know that they won't come over state line. They left Idaho and they're refusing to cross back over that state line, even though apparently they got the right guy behind bars. Doesn't really seem like it by the girl's behavior, right? So this question is crazy to me because shouldn't it be a given that Dylan and Bethany are going to be testifying? Awkward question. Will the judge decide before the end of the year or have a hearing on it? I know our statement sounds as if we are incredibly frustrated, and we are. Well, see, I think the whole decision-making thing with the judge is now becoming a definite by choice situation. It's not just his personality type, right? It's definitely becoming something that he can do on a whim, can do at the snap of a finger, but then also there's a lot that he decides to dilly-dally about. So I guess maybe some sort of compare and contrasting needs to be done for the things that he is adamant about making decisions about really quick, because just like this whole May 14th hearing being closed, he had that decision made before he got to court that day. He read over everything the day before. He already knew what he was going to do. It didn't matter what anybody said. He was going to do what he wanted. So, I don't know. This judge is just too much. He doesn't have a backbone. He doesn't do his job. He makes strange choices about things. I don't know. We understand the justice system and we want a fair trial for the defendant. I don't think you understand. I think you're just upset, which is normal, but their attorney honestly should be doing a better job. Like, I don't even know why they're paying Shannon Gray. Like, what are they actually paying him for real? Because he's not advising them to not come out and do all this crazy crap. He's not advising them not to have conversations with people on social media and entertaining all these conspiracy theories and crazy crap. He's not like telling them anything. He's not protecting them at all. So what exactly is Shannon Gray doing? Nothing is how it seems. Okay. But turning the case into a delay game serves no one's interest other than the defense. That's not true. Once again, thank you for all your kindness and prayers for our family. Okay, that's not true. That's not true. The delay games, Goncalveses, the delay games are because the state does not have any evidence. The delay tactic is because the state doesn't have anything. They said months and months ago, at the time of this hearing, that was months and months ago, that they didn't even have the actual autopsy reports in their hands. We know that there is no actual cast report to be handed over to the defense because it's still just a draft. We know that the state doesn't have anything because the judge just had to sign another Deuces Tecum subpoena to get the information from the feds. So tell me, please, how is this delay tactic only benefiting the defense? It's only happening because the state is still trying to create their case because they don't have one. They're pulling audio away from cut up pieces of edited video that they're claiming is the car, and you guys are not questioning that. Y'all are the ones who also received the Linda Lane footage, and you're not questioning what's happening with the actual car footage in your actual case? Why? Why are y'all not questioning what the state has and doesn't have? I understand, and again, this is still very personally to the Goncalveses, okay? I understand you guys' frustration, okay? I know that you want Bryan Kohberger to be the guy, and he very well could be. I'm not going to sit here and act like any of us know, because we don't. We don't. And honestly, Dylan and Bethany don't know either, because if the person that Dylan really did see was in a mask, what can she really attest to? Not a damn thing. You guys have got to start asking the right questions. Use your frustrations the right way. Ask the state why they don't have this evidence. Ask the state why they don't have actual car video proof that validates for sure that it's Bryan Kohberger's car. Because what you should be questioning is why they're apparently giving car evidence over to the defense of a vehicle that's not Bryan Kohberger's. That's what you should be questioning. You should be questioning a lot of things that you're not. And I really, really hope that you guys maybe see this. You probably know who I am, honestly, and you probably hate me, and that's fine because you don't like being challenged. I get that, Steve. I get that. But I'm going to challenge you to be more open minded and to start asking the right questions because you're not doing it. You're blinded by your anger, which you have every right to be, okay? But you could also be responsible for the death of someone else's child just by your blatant negligence to face facts. And again, I could be wrong. But we also have the prosecutor claiming that Bryan Kohberger wasn't stalking your daughter or any of the victims, okay? There's no social media connection either. So I don't know what you guys are doing with this Instagram profile that y'all are parading everywhere, but literally no one will validate that for you. There's a reason. You guys have got to let that go and start focusing on actual facts. You're going to drown yourselves if you don't stop what you're doing. You just have to. If you want really true justice for your daughter, for Maddie, for Xana, for Ethan, wake up. Start asking the state, where's all these things you promised us that you had? Why are we hearing in every single motion that's publicized that you don't have all of the things you told us that we didn't have to worry about? Why are you lying to us? That's what you should be asking. Now back to you guys. That's it for the statements. The only way that this is going to stop is if the Goncalveses stop. They have got to start asking the right questions. I understand they're mad. I understand they're hurt. I understand it. Okay. I get it. But this is getting nowhere. Shannon Gray is doing nothing to help them figure anything out. He's not stopping them from causing more chaos. He's not stopping them from themselves. He's not stopping them from themselves. And I thought that's what an attorney was supposed to do. I understand their frustrations. They've got to start focusing it the right way. Maybe we'll get somewhere. Maybe. But that's it, you guys. We're going to go over the documents in the next video. If you like the way that I present this information and present my opinion, please do not forget to leave a like on your way out and subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed already. See y'all.